Alrighty, so because we had a late night game yesterday with the game between the Quake and Tigres didn't finish after 10 o'clock, and knowing I have to go to work at 6 in the morning, I decided to delay the review of looking at yesterday Leeds Cup group stage game until today, which by the way, today is actually the last day in terms of the Leeds Cup group stage game. We're going to get the knockout round starting as soon as Wednesday, and I'll definitely do a video of my prediction and filling out the bracket of who's going to win Leeds Cup and also taking a look at what we have seen so far in this Leeds Cup tournament. Because safe to say that, yeah, I think I definitely want this tournament back next year, especially of just the pure chaos that we have seen in this tournament. And we saw some more pure chaos that happened in these games too. But we start off with the first one, which is Toronto and Atlas. Now, as much as there are some games that they're just pure chaos and just peak Leeds Cup moment, there's also some games that are like this between TFC and at last. Now, I will say this for Toronto, they didn't play bad in this one. I think they played much better in this game compared to them playing against NYCFC, but that's not really a high bar to set. And knowing the fact that TFC was playing a bunch of kids in this one, and they kind of had to, knowing the fact that they pretty much had nothing to play for in this game against Atlas. Why not put the kids in here and see how they do. And the kids actually did relatively well in this game against Atlas. Though it didn't start it well in this one because just 2 minutes into this game, Caicedo would score from Rocha to make it 1-0 in favor of Atlas. And I wrote, yep, this game is over. I mean, obviously, I know this game was already over before the whistle was blown, but it's pretty much over with the way that, yeah, that's probably the last thing that TFC wanted. And I thought that this could get ugly with the way that just 2 minutes into this game, they've already conceded the goal. So Marshall Ruddy did look for a response, but he hits it right to Vargas. And then Vargas had to deny Osorio from close range. And I thought maybe this game isn't over. I mean, TFC, they have clawed their way back into this game. They were looking for the equalizer. Marshall Ruddy would hit one right to Vargas. As the shots were 5-4 for Toronto through 30 minutes. Though the post did deny Caicedo, but actually fall to Guzman, and his attempt was denied by Sean Johnson. Sean Johnson definitely had a better night in this one. And a lot of that had to do with the defense of TFC. It wasn't as bad as what we saw in the game against Toronto or against NYCFC. But we do head to halftime with Atlas leading 1-0, and in the second half, Vargas denied Marshall Rutty from close range. Not much really happened in the second half. And again, with the way that this game and this game was happening, and as you notice how I have more notes on this game because this game went crazy, especially in the second half. I started to not really pay too much attention to this one, and especially also with the 6 o'clock game that is about to start. I thought, well, this game is pretty meaningless, and I didn't write too much notes on it. Atlas, of course, happy to sit back. They were letting TFC had all the possession, and just keep in mind, the only way TFC could have moved on out of this game is that they have to win this game by more than 3 goals. Yeah, that's not gonna happen, especially how bad they've been playing this season. Caicedo then hits one right to Johnson, and then the post denies Zapata from close in the 80th minute. But yeah, in the end, it's Atlas winning 1-0 in this one, as the shots in this one, 13 shots for the 12 that Toronto has, 4 shots on goal for the 6 that Atlas had, 4 shots off target for the 6 that TFC had, 2 shots that was blocked for the 3 that Atlas had, and possession-wise, 52% possession compared to the 48% possession that Atlas has in this one. So yeah, Toronto, of course, they are out of this tournament. They're actually, I think, one of 2 teams that have not scored a single goal in this tournament. Yeah, it was kind of a miserable time for TFC in this Leeds Cup tournament, and it just kind of sums up this season. But yeah, for Atlas, I will say this with Atlas, I feel like they are beatable. Like I feel like they're kind of a little fortunate that they faced against 2 teams in MLS that are not doing very well this season. I feel like if they were playing against a stronger team, especially in that East region, I have a feeling they can definitely have face some problem. I mean, let's say if they face against the Union or the New England Revolution, I won't be surprised that they can definitely throw them some challenges because again, they play two relatively bad team in the East, and again, we'll see who they're going to be playing in the round of 32, and that should be an interesting matchup. But that being said, moving on into the next game, and now let's talk about the crazy game of the night between the Red Bulls versus Atlas. Well, I would say that it was crazy until when we get into the 80th minute mark, because for the first 70 minutes, it was okay in terms of how this game is, and then it just kind of completely fall off the rail. And if you're a Red Bulls fan and you might have problem after this game with your heart, I don't blame you whatsoever. I mean, it was bonkers of how the last 10 minutes gone, and that the pendulum was swinging left and right in whether the Red Bulls were in or the Red Bulls are getting eliminated. And I think probably the biggest surprise coming out of this game, the That's So Metro moment didn't happen in this one. Like, I thought for sure it was gonna happen. Somehow it didn't happen in this one. In the first half, Lucchinias did put the ball into the back of the net, but VAR did see whether or not if he came back from an offside position when that ball was headed from him, and he did. So yeah, that goal was disallowed. But Troy Lesnar definitely didn't agree. He had some choice words with the fourth official. Surprised they didn't get booked for that. I mean, when you decided to disagree on a VAR call, and especially express your feelings toward that, you usually get a yellow card. So Troy Lesnar probably a little fortunate that he didn't get a yellow out of that. But there is no doubt the Red Bulls were on the front foot. They were looking for the opener. Nealis would heads it wide from close before Moreno actually scored here, but the flag came up for offside, and I immediately wrote that's a wake up call for the Red Bulls, because as much as yes, the Red Bulls have been the better team, the issue is that when they play that high line, and also when they play that press, I mean, if you're gonna play that press, you gotta make sure that you win the ball high up the pitch, because if you don't, and if Atletico San Luis will find a way to get past that press and able to play that long ball over the press, then the Red Bulls could get exposed at the back. And we saw it in that case where Atletico de San Luis just kind of play the ball over the top and just kind of bypass the Red Bull press, and Murillo had acres of space to shoot, or acres of space to operate, eventually score, and he was a little unlucky the fact that he just missed time his run. But the Red Bulls continued to push for the opener, but as the case for this season, the final third quality was just not there whatsoever. Barlow would then puts it wide from close, and we do head to halftime scoreless between both of these teams. Now in the second half, Benatini then puts it wide after the Red Bulls got completely caught out coming out of the break, or coming at the back, and then Moreno would puts it high from close after Cornell gave it straight to a San Luis player. So yeah, the Red Bulls, yeah, they were definitely not out of the locker room in the first 2 minutes. I mean, they were making some bad mistake that they were very fortunate that they weren't being punished. Though eventually they did wake up in the second half. Lucchinias would blast it high from long range, and then they finally gets the opener. It's Dante Vanzier scoring from John Token to make it 1-0 in favor of the Red Bulls. That was a confident finish for Dante Vanzier, a guy that has been really snake bitten this season. And then, of course, the whole racial allegation. That was actually a really good finish, and a finish that I think a lot of Red Bulls fans are hoping he can do that over and over again. But I also wrote, as it stands, the Red Bulls would be topping the group, and it would be a New York derby in the round of 32. So something tells me, I think the only reason why the Red Bulls did not have a That's So Metro moment is that the whoever organized the Leagues Cup, they literally were polling for the Red Bulls to win this one, so that they have to have a New York derby, because we already have some interesting matchup in the round 32. I mean, we're going to have a Florida derby between Miami and Orlando City, but I mean, a New York derby would also be a good thing too in the round of 32. So yeah, I'm pretty sure whoever were organizing this tournament, they were trying every way to make sure that the Red Bulls would move on. Barlow would then hits the side netting from close range as the Red Bulls press for a second goal, but then in the 69th minute, Atletico de San Luis get the equalizer. It's Morello, who of course was denied in the first half of a goal because of offside. He was not denied here, as he ties the game up at one apiece, and it was just kind of completely against the run of play, because the Red Bulls were controlling this one. It didn't look like there was any threat that Atletico de San Luis was going to come back, and it really changed the circumstances, because coming into this game, the only way that Atletico de San Luis can move on is if they beat the Red Bulls in this one. And with this one being 1-1, I mean, if the Red Bulls gave them another goal, it was lights out for the Red Bulls, and they would be eliminated. Ortiaga then denied Vanzier and a chance to kill this game off for the Red Bulls before Bilbao would heads it right to Cornell. And then Vanzier completely whiffs an opportunity in the 83rd minute. And I remain wrote, will these missed chances come back to haunt the Red Bulls? And I'm pretty sure if you're a Red Bulls fan and you see this team have problems in terms of getting the lead back and trying to kill this game off, you just had a feeling that so Metro moment is going to happen. And it looked like it did happen because in the 88th minute, to no Red Bulls fan surprise, penalty was given to Atletico de San Luis after Token brought down Montanelli in the box. I mean, that was clearly a penalty. I mean, I know John Tolkien was not happy about that, but the way that he kind stick a leg out to brought down Montanelli, that's obviously gonna always be a penalty. So yeah, I when that penalty was happening, I'm like, yep, seems like that so Metro moment is gonna happen. However, in the 90th minute, Cornell were able to deny Bilbao from the spot. Now, that was not a great penalty from Bilbao whatsoever, but yeah, I mean, that was probably to everybody's surprise, and maybe even Red Bulls fan surprised. I mean, they were expecting the worst. They were expecting that, yep, it looks like that so Metro moment is happening, but no, instead, that so Metro moment looked like it was put on hold. And again, whoever organized this Leeds Cup tournament, I'm pretty sure they're trying every ways to make sure the Red Bulls don't lose this one. In fact, the referee and VAR did actually have to do a quick check. In fact, the referee blew the whistle, and I'm pretty sure Red Bulls fan their heart stopped for at least 20 seconds because they thought that maybe Cornell came off his line early when he saved that penalty. But the referee says no, we play on, and that was enough for them to completely flip this game on the script as Van Zier would score his second goal from Tolkien to make it 2-1 in this one. So talk about redemption for both Dante Van Zier and John Tolkien. Of course, John Tolkien committed the penalty. He gets on the assist chart, and then Dante Van Zier. I know he scored a goal earlier, but he had a couple of opportunities to put this game away, and he eventually did put that. And that goal happened so fast that Apple TV did a very Fox Sports kind of moment or an FS1 kind of moment where they decided to still show the replay and didn't even have time to basically show what happened in terms of the goal. And again, I think we have basically reached peak Leeds Cup after dark mode because literally 20 seconds ago, it looked like the Red Bulls were on their way of getting eliminated. And now 20 seconds later, they look like they're on the way to move on to the next round. That's how much things can change in a heartbeat. I mean, the old cliche. This game is a game of inches. Yeah, apparently it's also a game of seconds of how this game turns out. And then it looked like it was 3-1 in favor of the Red Bulls as Manuel puts it into the back of the net. But they did go to VAR to see whether or not if Manuel fouled Bilbao. I mean, it was clearly a foul, but I feel like give it to them. It really didn't matter how this game was going to turn out because, even if the goal was disallowed, there was not really any minutes for Atletico that San Luis is going to get those two goals. And you can clearly see that penalty miss that they have, they just completely crumble after that. And yeah, in the end, the Red Bulls, they survived. They win 2-1 in this one. Shots in this one, 18 shots with a 12 that Atletico de San Luis had. 5 shots on goal for the 6 that the Red Bulls had. 2 shots off target for the 5 that the Red Bulls had. 7 shots that was blocked for the 5 that Atletico de San Luis has. And possession-wise, 55% possession compared to the 45% possession the Red Bulls has in this game. So yeah, there's no doubt the Red Bulls survive a huge scare out of this game, and they know that they need to be better, especially playing that New York Derby in the round of 32. With that being said, moving on into the next game, and you want more chaos? We got more chaos in this game between the Galaxy and Vancouver. So apparently this season, Vancouver love playing against LA team because so far the 2 away wins that they have all year long are against LA team. They've got a win against LAFC in the league, and now they got a win against the Galaxy in Leeds Cup. And this was really a classic example of what happened when you don't kill the game off. The Galaxy, they look really good for most part of this game. They had their opportunity to put this game to bed, and when they weren't able to do so, Vancouver punished them, and little do we know, the game basically turned on its head after that. In the first half, there was a huge shout for a penalty for Vancouver not given, and then White was in on goal there, but he was absolutely robbed by Mikovic on a 1v1. Niko Mikovic has really done well so far, and I won't be surprised he could really be challenging for that number 1 spot even that number. Well, yeah, definitely that number 1 spot of Jonathan Bond because I know Jonathan Bond still has that number 1 spot, but Bond has kind of looked shaky at times this season. That hasn't been the case for Mikovic. He's been really good so far, doing his two start here for the Galaxy in the Leeds Cup tournament. But I thought it was a promising start for the Whitecaps. I mean, they were doing their usual thing, being lethal on the transition. Though Calgary did miss hide from long range, and then in the 16th minute, the Galaxy takes the lead. It's Ricky Pooch. He scored from Calgary to make it 1-0 in favor of the Galaxy White did look to respond, but he missed that one high, and then Joveljic would puts it wide from close range, and it feels like now the Galaxy has the momentum. They were looking at trying to get another goal. Food would look for his second and the Galaxy second, but that one hits right to Balmer, and then White would puts it high from close in the 45th minute, and we head to halftime with this one being a 1-0 lead for the LA Galaxy. Now in the second half, there was a shout for a penalty for the Galaxy not given. Vite would hit one right to Mikovic, and then Boyd would fire it wide from close. As I thought both teams was getting some chances coming out of the half. There was times where I really thought this game was kind of back and forth at time, and that the big question is that who's going to get that next crucial goal? Because I feel like whoever's going to get this next crucial goal is going to really determine the circumstances in this game. And not to mention, just like the game between Atlanta versus Cruz Azul, this was pretty much a winner take all game. Like whoever wins this game is going to be moving on into the next round. So yeah, there was a lot of stake in this one, and it's kind of also no surprise that it was end to end at time where both teams were desperate to try to get all three points and get the win to move on. Cordova would head it wide from the corner before Joveljic would put it wide from long range. Pooch would then miss wide from close range. And again, the Galaxy had some good opportunity. The question is, will the inability of getting that second come back to haunt them? Because, yeah, if you don't kill your opponent off, and especially with the Whitecaps getting some chances on the other end themselves, you just had a feeling eventually the Whitecaps is going to find a moment of brilliance and get themselves tied the game up at one apiece. Gall would then put it wide from close range. There was a check to see if there was a handball in the box against the Galaxy, which VR says no. Joveljic then puts it wide from close, and then in the 81st minute, with the Galaxy still leading 1-0 and still failed to get that second goal, it come back to burn them because Caligari actually scored an own goal here again. This is the thing when you're at 1-0 up and you don't kill the game off. If you have bounces that go wrongly your way, and you can find yourself all of a sudden with the game tied up at one apiece. And this was an example of it with the way that when this ball whipped in into the box by Ryan Gull, Caligari unfortunately redirected into his own net. Very unfortunate, but I feel like everybody kind of saw this one coming. I mean, even if you're a Galaxy fan, you saw it coming, knowing the fact that yeah, it looks like with the way that they were just holding on to this 1-0 lead and giving the Whitecaps chances to tie the game up. Eventually, the Whitecaps will do so. And well, the Whitecaps kind of got a little fortune out of this one. That's what happened when you basically continue to be optimistic and still have that belief that you can come back into this one. And I even wrote this was coming with the Galaxy unable to put this game away. Pooch then tried to chip the keeper, but he missed wide there, and then Bulmer would deny Joveljic from close range. And I thought the Galaxy was pressing to try to get the lead back. Maybe the Whitecaps were playing for the penalty. They must have saw that, and they took it personally because in the first minute of stoppage time, this is when the game really turned on its head, and this is where the full chaos Leeds Cup after dark moment happened. I mean, I wouldn't say this is kind of after dark because this one was still played during by the time this goal was scored. It's just past sunset, but still, Brian White would score from Ryan goal to make it 2-1 in favor of the Whitecaps. I mean, I've said that combination multiple times. That's been a lethal combination for the Vancouver Whitecaps. And yeah, that was a winner. As the Whitecaps win 2-1 in this one, and the shots in this one, 16 shots for the 10 that the Whitecaps had. Both teams had 3 shots on goal, 8 shots off target for the 6 that the Whitecaps had, 1 shot that was blocked for the 5 that the Galaxy had, and possession-wise, 62% possession compared to 38% possession that the Whitecaps has in this game. And so far, I talked about how teams that have got eliminated, they got a long 3 weeks to think about what they done and the failure of them moving on to the next round of the Leeds Cup. And it's going to be a long 3 weeks. I think for the Galaxy, that's probably the longest out of any team because yeah, this game they had this one in the bag. Like they literally had this one in the bag. If they would have just put away that second goal, this game would have been over. But how many times I've said before, you don't kill your opposition off, it's gonna come back to haunt you. And the Galaxy learned it the hard way in this one. And like I said, they have now 3 weeks to think about it, and it will be a very painful week to kind of swallow of a game that yeah they should have won this one if they would have put the game away. But that being said, if you're the Vancouver Whitecaps, they're moving on into the next round, and the reward of moving on to the next round is to face against Tigres. So yeah, I mean it's going to be a daunting task, but hey, if there's one thing about the Vancouver Whitecaps and one thing about Vanni Sartini, that belief system with Vanni Sartini is there. Like this team Played very hard under Vanni Sartini, and it definitely shown in this game. They just never had that stop believing and eventually move on into the next round. With that being said, I am now going to switch boards and look at the last two games to finish up yesterday action of the Leeds Cup group stage action. So moving on in the next game. So yeah, this one was kind of interesting because for the first 5 minutes, Seattle looked like they were going to do the unthinkable. It looked like they were going to come from behind in terms of where they are in the standings and score three goals to really put maximum chaos in terms of the Leeds Cup tiebreaker. Because I mentioned before how there could be a case where we see maximum chaos in the Leeds Cup tournament where it can go all the way down to the fourth tiebreaker, which is the Fair Play Award, which I think the Sounders would have the edge over Rayados and RSL, especially with RSL had a red card in the game against Seattle. But then Rayados remember who they are after the 5 minutes happened, and I'm pretty sure Seattle also remember who they are this season, and not in a good way against Rayados in this one. But like I said, 2 minutes into this game, Nico Ladero scored here to make it 1-0 in favor of Seattle. And yeah, Nico Ladero definitely turned back the clock in this one. This was a vintage Ladero free kick goal. We've seen this so many times for Ladero, and it's kind of unfortunate that we haven't seen it lately because it seems like Father Time has started to catch up to him these last two seasons. But yeah, there was belief in Seattle, and you're thinking maybe this could be a special night for the Sounders team. I mean, we've seen it before. This Sounders team, they're not afraid against any Mexican team. They had that experience of coming back or able to find a way to move on. Ladero then looked for another, but Andrada Andrada was able or actually no, he was looking for another after Andrada gave it straight to Ladero, and then Ladero was trying to chip the keeper but missed that one high. And then in the 6th minute, Seattle made it 2-0. It's Jordan Morris scoring from Leo Chu to make it 2-0 in favor of Seattle. And I am being rolled. This looked like the old Seattle that we know. This looked like the Seattle that is a team that is one of the most dangerous team in the league, and a team even in the international play. A lot of Mexican team fear this team, especially when they're playing on their home turf, where they have the ability to come from behind or score quick goals to really put a very interesting situation in this game. But I also thought that there could be trouble if you're Rayados and RSL, because yeah, for Rayados, yeah, going down 2-0 inside just 6 minutes, that definitely is not a good look, especially if they do give up another goal or another one too. Rayados could be potentially find themselves exiting this tournament, and the same goes for RSL in terms of the fair play award. If we do get to that maximum chaos level, RSL could be in trouble in terms of the fair play tiebreaker because of the red card against Seattle. But I oh actually I even mentioned if Seattle wins 3-0, we go max chaos mode in terms of tiebreaker, and RSL could be out because of the fair play tiebreaker. Again, the fair play tiebreaker. If you get a red card, that's like minus 10 points or something like that. But there was a huge shout for a handball from Rayados not given, and really I think after the first 5 minutes, after a frantic first 5 minutes, where Rayados forgot that they are Rayados and they are considered to be one of the top team in Liga MX, I think they started to remember that they are who they are, and that they started to settle in and haven't really allowed many dangerous chances from the Sounders. Betterami then hits a weak volley right to Cleveland, but then in the 31st minute, he was scored here. I mean, right now, Herman Badarami, this guy is a guy that I'm pretty sure is a nightmare for any opposition to work against, because he's just red hot right now for this Monterrey team. And really, again, this came out of nothing, and also a combination of some bad defending from the Sounders, and just like that, Rayados able to get one back. Cleveland then denied Rojas from close range, and I thought Rayados has woke up. Like, they have clearly woke up, and this is clearly bad news for the Sounders, because at this point they still need two more goals to advance into the next round, and I just don't see it with the way the momentum was clearly with the Mexican. Reagan would then hits it high from close range, but then right on the stroke of halftime, a penalty was given to Monterrey after Rusnak brought down Govia in the box, and then Betterami basically steps up. He takes the penalty, and he finishes it clinically to make it 2-2 in this one. And I mean, wrote so much for a special night for Seattle, because it looked like it has unraveled in the last 15 minutes of this first half, and it continued into the second half. As in the second half, Rayados would get their first lead of the game. It's Corduzo. He scored from Betterami to make it 3-2 in favor of them. The unraveling continued for the Sounders in the second half. Paulo would then blast it high from long range, and I thought Rayados did start to drop up the tempo a little bit. They were looking, they're trying to counter, and boy, it was successful because in the 63rd minute, Betterame would complete his hat trick as he scored here to make it 4-2 in this one. It came off of a lightning counterattack, and it just shows you how ruthless that this Rayados team is in terms of finishing. I mean, I saw in the last game against RSL where, despite the fact that I thought RSL was the better team in this one, because of the fact that Monterrey was so ruthless in front of goal, and especially with Herman Valderrame, probably the most ruthless striker right now in this tournament. Yeah, all of a sudden, they overcome a 2-0 deficit and now leads at 4-2, and it just feels so effortless for this Rayados team, and a team that I gotta say they are definitely going to be one of the favorites in terms of winning the tournament after what we see in these two group stage games. And then the 73rd minute, Andrada would deny Aber from close range before Cleveland denied Cortizzo from close. There was then a big mistake from Cleveland and Yamar, and Berarami was looking to try to get a fourth one, but he did try to chip Cleveland, and Cleveland just able to make up for his error and palmed away as he was scrambling to come back. Rudias then missed wide from close, and then in the 87th minute, just out of frustration, Yamar get himself sent off of a intentional elbow on a via. Yeah, that was just kind of a dirty play there from Yamar. And I get it. You're frustrated because of how the game went through, and I know the red card probably doesn't really mean anything except maybe next season. Yamar is going to be suspended at least for 2 games if this Leagues Cup tournament is going to be back. But yeah, just absolutely no need for him to do so. And yeah, for Rayados, it was a comfortable come from behind win. I mean, I say comfortable, and it's kind of true. I mean, besides the first 5 minutes, they were head and shoulder better in this game against the Seattle Sounders. 4-2 is the victory that they had against the Sounders, and the shots in this one kind of tells the story too. 17 shots for the 10 that Seattle has, 9 shots on goal for the 5 that the Sounders had. 4 shots off target for the 7 that Rayados had. Both teams had 1 shot that was blocked, and possession-wise, 50% for both of these teams. So yeah, if you're Seattle, I mean, that mean if they had us in the first half, I think for Seattle fans, they probably thinking that this team had us in the first 5 minutes. This team, after they gave us some hope, and also maybe throw another cliche or a Ted Lasso kind of reference. It's what hopes that what hope that kills you or something thing like that, because yeah, the Sounders, they look like they were in for a bit in business at least in the first 5 minutes, and then it just kind of completely unraveled, and especially when Rayados was eventually going to get one back, the momentum just completely changed to a point where it was a relatively comfortable win for the visitor and for the Mexican in this one. But that being said, moving on into the next match and Rayado's big rival, Tigres. So again, coming into this game, I didn't expect much. I mean, it was pretty much a pipe dream. The Quakes can not only win against Tigres, but also win by 2 goal margin. But this is the Leagues Cup. We have seen some crazy thing that has happened before. But yeah, there was nothing crazy about this one. Though I think this game kind of is just sums up the problem that the Quakes has had so far in this Leagues Cup tournament. Like in the 2 games that they play, I don't think they've been badly outplayed. Like in this game against Tigres, I didn't think they play badly in this one. But the problem is finishing was a huge issue. And when you face against a team like Tigres and you don't put away your opportunity, yeah, it's no surprise that they end up on the losing end in this one. Though early on, I thought it was a promising start for the Quakes. And I thought both teams would seem to like to play the high press early on. Espinoza would puts it wide from close range before Gignac would puts it high on the free kick in the 14th minute. But then in the 19th minute, Tigres takes the lead. It's Florian. He scored from Quinones to make it 1-0 in favor of Tigres. This came off of a bad turnover from the Quakes. Yeah, you can't do that against Tigres and expect not to concede a goal. Like anytime when you make mistake at the back, Tigres is going to smell blood and capitalize, and it's no surprise they capitalize on that bad turnover that the Quakes, of course, made. Like if this was against a team in MLS that is not doing well, I think the Quakes would have got away with it. But this is Tigres we're talking about, ladies and gentlemen. So it was not a big surprise. The Quakes were punished because of it. Quinones then puts it wide from close. It was all Tigres, and I thought this could get ugly for the Quakes with the way that they were so Tigres was so in control of it. But give credit to the Quakes; they did start to get themselves back into this one. A couple would miss wide from close. The Quakes. I didn't think they were coming back if they can't take advantage of their limited chances, and that was a good chance for Makapo too. He found himself open in the back post, but just couldn't put that one on target. Same goes for Montero. He hits it wide from close range, and then Cal would hits one right to Guzman, and that kind of just sums up the night for the Quakes. They have had some good opportunity, but just cannot bury one. So we go to the second half, and in the second half, Gignac would hits it right to Daniel before Rodriguez actually had to clear Gorian's shot off the line. It was almost a carbon copy of the opening goal, and Tigres was on the front foot. They were looking to get another one, though Ibovasi would hit one right to Guzman, and the Quakes might as well just kind of go for it. They have nothing to lose. I mean, I know Tigres was dropping their lines. It seems like they were playing for the counter attack, and I know if the Quakes really want to go for it, it basically just play right in the hand of Tigres. But they kind of had to do it, knowing the fact that if they want a miracle, they need to really go for it. Cal would then puts it wide from long range before Quinones puts it wide in the near post, and then Quinones would blast it high on a lightning counter attack. And as the time winds down, the Quakes continue to press for a goal, but the final ball is just clearly not there. Which again, yeah, that's another issue for this team. Not only in this game, but also in the game against the Timbers. The final ball just clearly not good enough to create those chances. Thompson would then hits right to Guzman in the 90th minute, and yeah, in the end, Tigres they were able to win 1-0 in this one. I mean, it wasn't a vintage Tigres performance, but they do just enough to move on and that's the thing about Tigres is that this is a team they don't really need to even when they're not at their best. And I feel like after this performance, I can definitely see Tigres can definitely be better than what they play in this one. But even when they're not at their best, they still are able to walk away with a relatively comfortable win. 1-0 is the final scoreline, and the shots in this one 11 shots for the 17 that the Quakes had. Both teams had 4 shots on goal, 10 shots off target for the 5 that Tigres had, 2 shots that was blocked for the 3 that the Quakes had, and possession-wise, 56% possession compared to the 44% possession that the Quakes has in this game. And, again, I've said it that in the beginning of the tournament that I didn't think the Quakes were going to move on into the next round. And really, the game against the Portland Timbers, that was really the game I think would seal the Quakes' fate. They had to win that one. I had a feeling they had no shot in terms of in this game against Tigres, and I wasn't surprised the fact that they eventually lose this one. And now they're just going to have to regroup because, again, I do think that this team, if they want to consider themselves to make some noise in the playoffs, they need to add some more, especially on the attacking end, because again, the attacking end so far, Christian Espinoza, he's been carrying this attack left and right, and if he's not on, then this attack is basically completely doormat. And I know they have recently did that with Ayo Akinola, and I thought Ayo Akinola he had a decent game in his debut for the Quakes, but I feel like they need more weapons going forward on the attacking end too, because again, that the thing about the Quakes this season is that it's a team that at times they have had problems in terms of scoring goals and have had problem at times going forward on the attacking end because there's just no good final third quality unless if Espinoza just turned into a god and basically decided to carry this team on his back. But there you have it. That is pretty much it in terms of looking at these games that happened yesterday. Again, today we have 4 more games to wrap up in terms of the Leeds Cup groups stage action, and I'll definitely try to do the review after the final game is over. But until then, hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you do, make sure you guys like, smash the subscribe button, and yeah, I of course will see you guys next time.